Chelsea fans, after another disappointing defeat to Aston Villa Saturday night, we quickly move to another Premier League fixture. Chelsea host Southampton Tuesday the 25th of February with an 8:15pm kickoff at Stamford Bridge. And if we don't win this game, it is plain embarrassing. Not only are we desperate to turn our form around and get 3 points, but there's something else that adds to the intensity of this fixture. Chelsea fans are planning a protest on the 25th of February at 6pm Bovril Gate outside Stamford Bridge just before the game. So in this video, I'm asking one question: can Enzo Maresca survive the Chelsea pressure? Not only that, I am going to be covering the latest Chelsea news and predicting the Chelsea starting 11. Did you know that 90% of the people watching this video right now are currently not subscribed to the channel? So make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. Make sure you join the community and let's get into the video. So let's get into the latest Chelsea news. So kicking things off, Nizar Kinsella has reported that Reece James organised a social gathering last week for Chelsea players amid a bad run of form. The gathering saw the squad have an informal meal out after a period of just 2 wins in 9 matches under Enzo Maresca. It's so bad when you say it out loud, but I really do like this from Reece James. Reece James is being a captain. He's saying, look lads, we are not doing well at work, right? Because obviously to these players, it is a job, right? Saying, look, we're not doing well at work. We're getting hounded and harassed at work by, constantly being told by the press, the media, and at work that we're not doing well enough. We're not doing good enough. We need to turn this form around. Let's all go out for a meal, just chill, chat, and kind of actually dissect the inner workings of like trying to turn this around, like create some unity and, boost some morale, boost some confidence and have that camaraderie that we're clearly missing to be able to see out games. So I actually really like that from Reece James. Next up is another report from Nizar Kinsella, and he says there is a feeling that if Chelsea stick together when players return from injury, mostly after the nearing March international break, the club can charge up the league and claim Champions League qualification. Now, I feel like right now they're just putting out as much positive PR as possible. They've got a protest that's coming, which we'll speak about in a little bit in the video, so make sure you keep watching. And they're just kind of reinforcing this whole, we can still do this, we can still do this. And look, I'm a very optimistic Chelsea fan, and I do think that we can qualify for Champions League football, but I'm also not blind. 2 wins in the last 10 games, or whatever it may be, 3 and 11, whatever it is. Things need to change massively. Yes, we've got like an injury crisis where, the squad has all of a sudden become very, very thin. No recognised strikers that are playing. That midfield needs some support. That the defence needs support after the Aston Villa game. Chalobah going off injured as well. We are running thin, which is wild when you think about it, considering how stacked we were at the start of the season. But with this January transfer window of actually weakening our squad, it's actually hindered us even more. So, I see what they're trying to say, but I just see it as positive PR. I do personally feel like we can qualify for the Champions League. People seem to forget we're only 4 points off of, second or third. It's so tight between where we are in 7th currently and higher up in the table, right? It's 1 win or a couple of results from either of those teams dropping points, and all of a sudden it looks completely different. And we are very lucky that we've got Southampton and Leicester back-to-back to try and get another 6 points. And again, if we look up to the footballing gods, right, we may get some results go in our favour, which might secure a couple points here and there. I don't know, but that's what Nizar Kinsella is saying, and apparently what they're saying around the club. I do back it. I do feel that. I do feel like we still have the Champions League qualification, but again, we're not blind. We can see these run of results. We can see these poor performances, and we need it to change massively. Bobby Vincent also reported from today's press conference that Maresca says Jorgensen is still number 1. He says, if we need to change players every time there is a mistake, we will change many players. But no, nothing has changed. And I'm glad that he said that, because Robert Sanchez has the most errors leading to goals in Europe's top 5 leagues. We can clearly see that he's just not good enough. And Jorgensen's now getting a run of games. Now, all right, against Villa, that goal, the winner we conceded, horrendous goalkeeping, let's be honest. It was horrendous goalkeeping. However, I'm glad that Enzo's backing him and saying, no, right, out of the 2, Jorgensen is the number 1. He deserves a run of games and he will get better. Now, we know his distribution is a lot better than Sanchez. That's pretty much a given. We can already see that. And I think his overall game is better. But he's clearly got mistakes in him, right? After seeing the Aston Villa game, he's clearly got mistakes in him. Let's just hope he improves. Let's hope he doesn't make any silly mistakes against Southampton or Leicester or Arsenal or Copenhagen. Well, I can imagine Sanchez will probably play Conference League now if Jorgensen is the number 1, which actually frightens me. But we'll get to that when we get to the fixture. But I kind of agree with that. I think even though Jorgensen made a mistake, and it's horrendous, and goalkeepers should not be making that mistakes, other keepers have done similar things this season. And I think that we still have to give Jorgensen that chance to be our number one and to give him them run of games. So I agree with that. Another quote from Bobby Vincent from the same press conference on Cole Palmer. And Maresca says, Cole is a human being. The problem with Cole is probably we rely on Cole for everything. And I've said that since the start. We need to rely on the team. 100%. Cole Palmer FC is what everyone banters us with. And let's be honest, if he isn't performing, we don't win games. And let's be honest, his performances have dipped off massively in the last couple of months. Like gradually, game by game, it's getting worse and worse. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him, because if you're up here talent-wise and everyone around you is poor and not pulling their weight and not doing their jobs and not finishing the chances you create, Cole Palmer's created something stupid like 32 chances since December or something, and none of them have been converted. That's wild when you think about it. Of course, Cole Palmer is going to grind him down. He's going to be like, what is the point? He's also a bit out of form, well, massively out of form, really. This is the first time in his Chelsea career that he's gone more than 4 games without a goal or an assist. So it's a bit of a dry spell for him. It's just wild. And I think Maresca is 100% spot on here. We can't just rely on Cole Palmer. You have other players in the squad, other players in the team that need to do their job, need to deliver for the team. So it takes the pressure off of Cole Palmer. Because without him, even though he's gone on this bad run of form for a few months, he's still putting up the numbers. 14 Premier League goals, like 5 or 6 assists. Like, he's still doing numbers, which is wild considering how bad we've been for a long period now. So I totally agree with Enzo Maresca on this. We can't just rely on Cole Palmer. We need the other players to perform and do their job. And lastly, it's just a reminder for any of you Chelsea fans going down to Bovril Gate, Stamford Bridge tomorrow before the game. There is a protest, the Blue Coat Out protest, which is the 25th of February, 2025. 6 p.m. outside the Bovril Gate at Stamford Bridge. Now, I want to say to people, if you are going, I fully back it. I'm trying to get there. I can't get the childcare to be there, unfortunately. But I will be doing a live watch along for the game, and I'll be doing it earlier to try. And I've got a few friends going down there, and I'm fully supporting them and backing them as much as I can. Please be peaceful. Please protest in a peaceful manner, and please be clear with your messaging. They are the 2 biggest things with a protest. We don't want it to get violent, and we don't want it to be convoluted with all these people trying to pull in different directions. If that is what you're going to do with Blue Coat Out, then you go with Blue Coat Out. Now, from the outside looking in, this looks like a wild protest. I fully agree with that, because they won't know the inner workings of our club like our fans and the standards that we have set and the club have set itself for over 20 years. But I think this is a very good thing to make our voices heard. I also think it puts a lot more pressure onto the game, Enzo Maresca and the players, to deliver against Southampton, because this is happening just before the game. Now, something could happen like the Spurs-Man United game, where after this protest happens, people go into the stands and they continue this protest during the game to make sure it's televised, to make sure their voices are heard. And I fully support that. But I just wanted to remind people who maybe weren't aware or are going to the game or were thinking about it, maybe sitting on the fence. I understand the protest is not for everyone, but this is about amplifying the fans' voices and getting ourselves heard that we are not happy with the way that our club is being run right now, and we want change. Whether it's the owners out, whether it's the sporting directors out, whether it's a change of the model, it all starts from the top all the way down. So if you can get the guys at the top to take notice, change can actually happen. Now, that's all the Chelsea news done. Let's get into predicting this Chelsea starting 11. I'm going to be honest. I really liked how we set up against Aston Villa, and I think that credit should go to Maresca on that behalf, because we were screaming for change and he delivered some change. The result didn't go our way. The players let ourselves down, especially after that 60-minute mark, which seems to be a reoccurring thing every week. But I like the lineup, I like the system change, and I genuinely think that it can work if we continue with it, especially against a club like Southampton or Leicester. So I'm hoping that Enzo sticks with something like that, rather than reverting back to what we were doing at the start of the season because we're playing Southampton or Leicester. Now, I've obviously set it up in a 4-2-3-1 because while we're playing, it kind of works that way. Reece James can drop into a back 5 when defending. Caicedo can kind of be a lone CDM. Enzo can drop back. But again, going forward, it kind of works in this system. So to keep it simple, I've kept it there. But, you know, going in goal, we're going to have Jorgensen. It's been confirmed he is our number 1 goalkeeper, so he goes straight into the mix there at goalkeeper. Like I said, I'm hoping he just has a good game, a better game, a clean sheet, something that can boost his confidence, because from what we've seen, I rate him as a goalkeeper. I think he's very good. I think he's better than Sanchez, and I think he's got a better future than Sanchez, because Sanchez was third-string keeper from Brighton when we picked him up, which makes no sense. And Jorgensen looks like he's got a bright future ahead of him as long as he can just kind of steady his nerves, not make any silly mistakes, and just do what a goalkeeper needs to do, because we know his distribution is a lot better. Now, going on to left back, this is a fast turnaround of games. I am still expecting Cucurella to play left back, because I don't want to see Gusto playing left back. We'll get on to Gusto in a minute. But yeah, Cucurella, I think he was one of the only players against Villa that were really putting in a shift. Even when we weren't playing well, he was still putting in a shift. I rate him. I think he's one of the best left backs in the league, especially with all the jobs and roles that Maresca gives to him. I think he executes them 9 times out of 10 to a very high standard. So go with Cucurella. Now, the centre-back partnership, I would love to see Tosin and Chalobah, but Chalobah is injured, so it kind of picks itself. It's going to be Colwill, which we need to have uncomfortable conversations about Levi Colwill. I've backed him as much as I can, but this guy is just leaks mistakes. And Tosin, hopefully they can both stay fit between this upload and the actual game. Look, I think that Tosin is a nice defender to have when he's got the right partner. I feel like when you've got Chalobah and Tosin, it works well. It's a lot more solid. Not saying that we don't concede goals when we have those two playing, but it seems like we don't leak as many goals. I mean, the Brighton game is probably the exception there, and the Man City game, like, we have still conceded goals. But I feel like as a centre-back partnership, they seem to be the strongest pairing that we have. It was Colwill and Fofana's obviously been injured for so long, and I feel like that was starting to really work, and then Fofana got injured. So I'm just hoping Colwill doesn't do anything silly, no rash challenges, no silly fouls. His line-breaking pass is the only positive that he's got, so if you can utilise those, then great. I feel like he did that a lot more in the Aston Villa game, and there were a lot of times where he would bypass the opposition's attack straight into our midfield, and we'd be able to move quicker on the transition and just actually be a bit more of a threat towards Villa. When it got to the final third, different story. Felt like Neto outran everyone. He was my man of the match personally against Villa, but we'll get to him. Right back. I don't know what's happened to Gusto. His form has fallen off of a cliff. Let's be brutally honest here. It's fallen off of a cliff, and I would much rather play Ashimpong. I would much rather play Ashimpong right back. I'm not going to lie. I know that Maresca played with a system where you play Gusto and Reece James. In theory, it works when both players are playing well, but Reece James isn't fit enough to do a 90, because we saw him lose his man time and time and time again in that second half. And Gusto's just... his form's fallen off a cliff. I don't know what else to say about him. I think every bad word, you can go through all of the review videos I've done, like after the games, the amount of times he comes up in terms of being caught out of position, making silly fouls, or sleeping at the back. So I'm actually going to go with Ashimpong. I think that... there we go, I did spell it right. I still think Enzo Maresca will go with Gusto, but I would personally go with Ashimpong. Oh, he's finally got a face on it. A few times we've done this, he's not had a face. Now he does. That's awesome. So yeah, I would go with Ashimpong as a right back. Obviously, you're going to go with Moises Caicedo in there. We don't really have anyone else that can do that. He doesn't have any breather or any time to rest, bless him. I mean, you could put KDH in there, but why? And I feel like he's going to go Reece James. However, it is 2 games back-to-back very quickly, so I could actually see him playing KDH there. We're playing Southampton and Leicester back-to-back in the Premier League. I think KDH might play well because he would find his level playing in the Championship, right? I would like to see Reece James play there because I quite like it. And I think if you've got someone like Ashimpong who is young, he's hungry, he's proven that he just wants to play first-team football, you play those together, they could work really well. I just don't want to see Gusto on the pitch at the moment because his performances have just been so subpar. So I'm going to stick Reece James in there, but I'm kind of expecting a KDH in there, to be fair. Even though I just said, why would you play KDH? It actually makes a lot of sense with the fast turnaround of games and how Maresca has said that Reece can only play like 1 game a week to manage his fitness. But I would like to see that pairing again. Because again, I think that James and Ashimpong could interchange very, very nicely. And obviously we had Palmer on the right-hand side, which I will probably go for again, to be honest. I feel like that triangle can work well. It just needs a bit of time to gel. On the left-hand side, though, I'm not playing Nkunku. I'm just not. I like Nkunku. He's one of my favourite players. He really, really is. But he's really just... he doesn't want to be here, mate. You can see from his body language. He gets frustrated. There's a lot of chances where... he doesn't get the ball, and that I feel sorry for him from that instance, because if you're in a better position, you should be getting the ball. And sometimes, Palmer or Neto, whatever, didn't work playing on the ball. Enzo sometimes. So I get that's frustrating, but at the same time, he's not really done enough to kind of warrant that he wants to be there, he wants to improve, and yeah, I feel like when Jadon Sancho came on in the second half, even though we were poor in the second half, when he got the ball, He just looked more dangerous because he was being more direct and wanted to drive the ball forward. You may disagree with that, and that's totally fine. But personally, I would play Sancho on that left wing. In that 10 role, who can obviously drop back and support Caicedo. I'm going obviously Enzo Fernandez. Because that's kind of how the system played out in game when we had the ball. I feel like he had a very good game against Villa. He had a lot more freedom. He was further up the pitch and he was connecting the dots a little bit. And obviously he got his goal. What is it? I think it's like 3 goals and 4 appearances against Villa, which is like this one of these weird things that he just likes scoring against Villa. But I feel like he played well. I really do. So I would go Enzo Fernandez again, and then on the right I'd go Cole Palmer. And I had so many people throughout this season going, Cole Palmer needs to be playing on the right. Cole Palmer needs to be playing on the right. We then play him on the right, and these same people attacking me in the comment section of my TikTok video going, oh, Cole Palmer on the right doesn't work, or why do we play him on the right? People forget he played 98% of last season from the right side, drifting in, linking up with the striker pulling out, linking up with Enzo or James, whoever's in the centre of midfield, and he had the overlap on the right-hand side. Now, yes, Maresca doesn't really like the overlap in fullbacks, but we saw that a lot more against Villa, and it just kind of reminded us a little bit more of last season's Chelsea. Obviously not as potent, because obviously we just threw the game away. But I really like Palmer on the right. I think he can do a job in the middle, I'm not going to lie. But if we're going to play this newer system that Enzo Maresca has kind of put together for Villa and try it out again against Southampton, we're going to see more of the same. And obviously for the number 9, we're not going to be playing in Kunku. Guiu is still injured, so is Jackson. We're going with Neto because I'll tell you what, he was my player of the match for Chelsea against Villa. He was fantastic. He was everywhere. He was leading the press. Admittedly, during the second half, I think there was a whole team thing that we capitulated, and he wasn't leading the press, and that led to further complications and errors behind him, right? But from 0 to 60 minutes, he was leading the press, he was chasing every ball down, he was going out wide to support Palmer, he was allowing more space for the left-hand side of, at the time, in Kunku and Enzo to kind of push into the space he created. Palmer was drifting in, and he'd have Enzo and Neto to aim for. I feel like Neto just did a fantastic job. There was something going on in the midfield where Neto found himself on that right-hand side in loads of space time and time again. And whenever the ball went over onto the right, he was just using his pace, being direct and trying to create something. And that's how the goal came. He had that space created from the team on that right-hand side. He bombs down, he whips it in. And Fernandez is perfectly placed between two defenders where you don't want to be as a defender tracking someone. And he gets a tap in. So I feel like it can work. We just let the game slip. And I feel like this system can work if we just give it a bit of time. And again, playing Southampton and Leicester, it should be 6 points in the bag. However, I am fully aware of our last 2 months of playing. All I'm saying is with the protest behind the game, before the game, the fact that we haven't won in so long and we need 3 points, and we're playing bottom of the league, can Enzo Maresca survive the Chelsea pressure? That is what I'm asking. Because if we don't get a result convincingly, it'd be interesting to see how the protest plays out as well. It could be a long day at the office for Enzo Maresca and this Chelsea team. But that is my predicted 11 for the Southampton game. So that's my predicted Chelsea 11 to face Southampton this Tuesday night. It should be a guaranteed 3 points, but with Chelsea, you never know. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. Do you agree with this lineup? Do you disagree? Would you play people in different positions? Love having a conversation with you guys and curious to know your thoughts. One last mention to everyone going down for the protest. I back you and you have my full support, but please be peaceful and make sure your voice is heard in a clear and coherent way. Now, if you did make it this far to the end of the video, there'll be a thumbnail that pops up on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.